A few years ago, I was in a meeting that changed everything for me. I walked into that boardroom feeling invincible, armed with a project I'd spent months perfecting. My proposal was a fortress of logic. The data was undeniable, the financial projections impressive, the market analysis airtight. I truly believed there was no way it could fail. But as I launched into my pitch, I saw it. The decision maker, the man with the power to say yes, wasn't leaning in. He was leaning. His eyes drifted to the window, then down to his phone. A barely perceptible sigh. I pushed harder, throwing more data at him, thinking my logic alone would win him over. My internal monologue was screaming, "Look at the numbers! It's a guaranteed win! Why aren't you listening?" I left that room defeated. A week later, the news came. He went with a competitor. That evening, a friend on the inside gave me some brutal honesty. He said, "Your idea was brilliant, but the other guy, he didn't just present a plan, he painted a picture. He made the future feel exciting." Then he said the words that changed my life. "It wasn't that your idea was worse, it was that weren't compelling." Compelling. That one word hit me harder than 1,000 no's. It wasn't my logic that failed, it was my connection. That painful realization sparked an obsession. I started devouring everything on influence and human connection, from neuroscience to the biographies of great leaders. I had always believed charisma was a gift you were born with. But this failure forced me to ask a radical new question. What if charisma isn't a magic trick? What if it's a code? After years of research, studying everything from executive coaching sessions to the body language of the world's most influential leaders, I discovered that it is. Charisma is not a gift. It's a system, a learnable set of skills that can be practiced and mastered. I found the common patterns that separate the forgettable from the unforgettable. I organized them into a framework I call the Charisma Code. And today, I'm going to share with you the 7 techniques that form its foundation. We're about to build the foundation of powerful body language, the bedrock upon which every other technique rests. And it begins not with a gesture, but with a moment of stillness. What if I told you the most impactful thing you can do to command a room is absolutely nothing? Let's master the simplest, most transformative technique of all, the power pause. When someone asks you a difficult question, what does your brain tell you to do? Answer. Immediately. Fill the silence. This panic response is a primal instinct. We are conditioned to see silence as a failure, a void that must be frantically filled with words, any words. This floods our system with cortisol and clouds our judgment. But here's the secret that master communicators and billionaires understand. They are not afraid of the void. They don't see silence as empty space. They see it as a canvas, a strategic tool to create anticipation and command respect. Watch this. See the difference? That brief, 2 to 3 second gap is not hesitation. It is weaponized silence. It's a deliberate choice that communicates control. And this isn't just a feeling, it's a fact. Groundbreaking MIT research shows this simple pause increases your perceived intelligence by over 1/3. It also makes whatever you say next twice as memorable. A single conscious breath gives your words more weight, makes you appear smarter, and gives your own mind a crucial moment to pivot from a reactive state to a strategic one. I tested this in a high-stakes negotiation. The other side, trying to gain the upper hand, threw a deliberately provocative question at me, designed to knock me off balance. My heart hammered against my ribs. Every instinct screamed at me to defend, to justify, to fill the silence. But instead, I anchored myself. I took a slow, deliberate breath. I held the lead negotiator's gaze with calm composure, and I paused. Inside my head, I calmly counted. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Then, with my thoughts collected, I delivered my answer. The entire energy of the room shifted. It was palpable. They physically leaned in. Their aggressive posture softened. They stopped shuffling papers and gave me their complete attention. That pause signaled I was not desperate, that my words had weight. It created an illusion of unshakable confidence. And in doing so, it created the real thing. Now, the power pause which we discussed is your key. It unlocks the door and gets you into the room. But once you're inside, how do you build a real, lasting connection? This is where we graduate from the science of confidence to the art of chemistry. Confidence gets you noticed, but chemistry gets you trusted. Confidence is a monologue, chemistry is a dialogue. It's the invisible thread that weaves two minds together. To illustrate this, let me tell you about a client I'll call David. David was a genius in his field, but people found him cold and distant. He needed to build trust, not just prove he was right. So we focused on two powerful techniques: verbal mirroring and strategic vulnerability. Let's start with verbal mirroring. This is not about mimicking or impersonating someone. That feels manipulative. True mirroring is about subconscious alignment. It's about subtly, respectfully, matching someone's speech patterns, their cadence, and their energy. Think of it like tuning a musical instrument. If they're speaking slowly and deliberately, you don't fire back with rapid-fire responses. You slow down. You align with their rhythm. You match their volume. You even start to echo their choice of language. Are they analytical or emotional? When you sync up like this, you're sending a powerful non-verbal signal to their brain that says, "I'm with you, I get you, we are on the same wavelength." It bypasses the critical mind and builds rapport on a much deeper, primal level. And that brings us to strategic vulnerability. This is perhaps the most potent and most feared tool for connection. Why? Because we're taught to project strength at all costs. But true strength isn't about being flawless. It's about having the courage to be human. Strategic vulnerability is not oversharing your deepest fears or complaining. That just makes people uncomfortable. It is the calculated, relevant reveal of a past weakness or failure that is now a source of strength and learning. The formula is simple. You share a past struggle, you articulate the lesson you learned, and you demonstrate how that lesson makes you better today. It's a signal of self-awareness and growth. It says, "I'm not perfect, but I learn from my mistakes." Let's go back to David, in his meeting with that skeptical partner. The tension was high. David used his power pause. He mirrored their calm, serious demeanor. Then, he saw his opening. They mentioned a project that failed due to poor communication.
Instead of just agreeing, David leaned in and said, "I understand that completely. Early in my career, I lost a client for the exact same reason. I was so focused on being right that I forgot to listen. It was the most expensive and valuable lesson I ever learned."
That was strategic vulnerability. He didn't reveal a crippling flaw. He revealed a lesson, a humanity. You could physically see the partner's posture change, their arms uncrossed. In that moment, he went from being a salesman to a partner. The deal was signed the next week. That transformation is the power of this combination. The pause creates respect. The mirror creates rapport. And the vulnerable reveal creates trust. These aren't just tricks. They are the fundamental tools for turning a simple transaction into a meaningful, lasting relationship. This is how you don't just win a deal, you win a partner. Now, you've used all these techniques. The conversation is going perfectly. How do you end it? Most of us say, "Great talking to you, let's do it again sometime." And we are forgotten in 24 hours. The final part of the code is the exit echo. This is how you make yourself unforgettable. It's a three-part formula. The callback. Refer back to something specific they said. "John, when you mentioned your struggle with your team's motivation earlier," the gift. Offer a piece of value. "It reminded me of a fantastic article on psychological ownership. I'll send it to you." The future frame. Plant a seed for the next interaction. "Let's reconnect in 2 weeks after you've read it. I'm genuinely curious to hear what you think." You have just done 3 things. You proved you listened, you added value, and you guaranteed a future connection. You are no longer just a contact. You are a memorable chapter in their story. So, what is the code, really? It's this. Charisma isn't about being the most entertaining person in the room. It's about being the most present. It's about making the other person feel heard, understood, and valued. These 7 techniques are not a mask to wear. They are a discipline to practice. They are the repetitions that build the muscle of true connection. You don't need $1 billion to start. You can start with a single, 2-second pause. My challenge to you is this. For the next 21 days, pick just one of these techniques. Just one. Practice it deliberately. Watch what happens. Because the goal is not to become someone else. The goal is to become the most effective, influential, and connected version of yourself. To crack the code, not just on influencing others, but on unlocking your own potential. Thank you.